So Sony has revealed that all new PlayStation Plus, the so-called Spartacus, that's been rumored for quite a while now. And it's probably the most they've done to respect their history in a long time. So all new PlayStation Plus is going to let you play PS1, PSP, PS2, PS3 games, but not PS Vita. Now, Sony has been kind of almost denying their history and their awesome legacy of games for a while now. You know, Jim Ryan made a comment a while ago saying, you know, people don't want to play old games. I do, but, you know, and I think he's very wrong about that. And this kind of shows that they recognize there is a demand for their legacy of games, but not for Vita. Now, I know the problem with Vita is that it has the touchscreen, the back touch, the cameras, the gyroscope, which just means that it's harder to then bring it to a modern system. You can't play most Vita games, or you can't play those kind of early PS Vita games on a PS4 because you don't have things like the back touch and camera. But that doesn't mean all games should have been abandoned, and they could have brought some games, some Vita games, to the PlayStation Plus. And so I wanted to do a video about some of the games I think should have come to PlayStation Plus from the Vita. Now, it's obviously not going to include games like Uncharted Golden Abyss, where you've got where you need to use the camera and hold it up to the light, which was a really silly idea for a game. So, you know, that kind of game would take probably too much work to redesign in order to make it work on a PS4 or PS5. But there are a lot of games on the Vita that could work. And so I want to focus on those games that don't need a huge amount of redesign to potentially work on a console, on a regular console. So first up on my list is Killzone Mercenary. Killzone Mercenary is a brilliant first-person shooter. In my opinion, the best Killzone game that I've played. Now, I've only played Killzone 2, 3, and Killzone Liberation on the PSP. But I thought Mercenaries was brilliant. I really loved that game. And it was already redesigned to work on the PlayStation TV, so it didn't need the whole touchscreen and gyros and anything else. So that could easily have come to the PS4. It's a shame, again, that's not going to be happening because it doesn't need a whole lot of work, because it can work. They've already redesigned it to work on a console rather than on the Vita itself. Next up, Freedom Wars. Freedom Wars had a little bit of touchscreen functionality on the menus. Not a whole lot, not in terms of the gameplay, it didn't need it, and it worked perfectly fine on the PS TV as well. It's a game that could easily come there. It's completely stranded on the Vita, unfortunately. There's no sequel planned, and it was a really great game and a great premise for a story, but not happening, unfortunately. And it really could. It could come to PlayStation Plus. It could easily work if they wanted to bring Vita games to PS Plus. Next up, Soul Sacrifice and Soul Sacrifice Delta. Both, again, like Freedom Wars, did have some touch functionality when it came to menus, and a little bit too in one of the screens where you had to kind of touch the book Librom, who kind of gives you who's kind of the hub in terms of the menu for missions and stuff. But it's not a huge amount of touchscreen functionality. Nothing that could really be sort of that couldn't be replicated on a controller if they wanted to, just using say R3 and L3. So it could have come to. It's something else that could have been brought to a console if they decide to just redesign it a little bit. Arna Surge Plus is a re-released version of Arna Surge, which came out on the PS3. It's a turn-based RPG with a really interesting story and premise. I'm playing it right now and really enjoying it. It doesn't have barely any kind of Vita functionality in terms of touchscreens or anything like that, and so it's something that could easily have been brought across to console. Orishika is another turn-based RPG. I wasn't a huge fan of this one personally, but a lot of people really enjoyed it. It had a really interesting kind of ancient Japanese style to it and setting, which I thought was really cool, but I just didn't click with the gameplay itself. A lot of people liked it though, and it's again something that I think would be cool for more people to experience, because I think it could have a bigger audience than it had on the Vita. Dungeon Travelers 2. So this game came out in Japan on PSP, but in the West it was only out on Vita. This is something, it's a dungeon crawler RPG. I think it's something that Sony probably wouldn't put on anyway, just because it's got a bit of nudity on it. And they really don't like anything a bit risque. But again, it's something that could easily have been brought across to a PS4 or PS5 if PS Plus could allow Vita functionality. Muramasa Rebirth is the re-release of Muramasa, which was originally on the Wii, but the Rebirth version is only on the Vita, and all of the DLC is Vita exclusive as well. It's a brilliant game, amazing graphics, great gameplay, really good story, really long as well, especially with all the DLC. This game doesn't use backtouch or anything like that for the Vita. It could easily be brought across to a console, and it's a real shame that it's only on Vita when more people should experience it. Persona 4 Golden. Now, this is on PC, so it can easily be put across to a PS4 or PS5. It's one of the best games on the Vita. It consistently gets voted as the best game on the Vita by many people. Brilliant story, really interesting RPG. Just a great game all around, especially just the bonds you form with people and the friendships and all the characters and story. It's just awesome. Easily it could be brought across to a console, given that it's already on PC. The Muv-Luv games haven't been brought across to any consoles right now. This is 3 visual novels, the first one being a kind of a romance novel, and then the other 2 being more sci-fi. These games are highly praised, and right now they're just on the Vita. But like Dungeon Travelers 2, there is some lewdness to it, so PlayStation probably wouldn't want to bring it across to any other system anyway. Tales of Hearts R is an action RPG that came to the Vita early on. Doesn't have a lot of touchscreen functionality. It could easily be brought across to a console. 3 games that do have touchscreen functionality but don't need a lot of work to bring it across to the Vita. First one, Unit 13. It does use a touchscreen in order to throw grenades and also to interact with the environment. Not a massive amount of use of the Vita's unique control inputs. Again, it could be easily kind of redesigned so that it can be brought across to a PlayStation 4. Wipeout 2048, the menus do use touchscreen. There's a little bit of back touch as well there. Since the multiplayer is gone, on the multiplayer it did use the front camera, so if you won a race you could take a picture of yourself and everyone could see your kind of winning face. But that's been removed anyway. The multiplayer is shut down. But they could just have the games available in terms of the single player, and that would just need a bit of redesign in terms of using the joypads in terms of moving around the menus. Resistance Burning Skies, one of the first FPSs on the Vita. Not highly praised, but it's not a bad game. It was okay. It does use some of the touchscreen and backscreen in the back touch, but they could easily be replaced by L2, R2 or L3, R3. It's things like reloading your gun, throwing a grenade. That stuff could easily be replaced if they wanted to redesign it a little bit. So guys, that's my list of Vita games that should be brought across to PlayStation Plus. I would prefer if Vita was available on PlayStation Plus. It's a shame that they haven't just kind of brought across their whole history into this new service. But they just seem to want to ignore the Vita generally, which is a shame. So guys, leave a comment below. Would you have liked to have seen PlayStation Vita games on PlayStation Plus? What Vita games would you have liked to have played on a PS4 or PS5? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.